All right, we're back. 2015 GFC, 6th annual Grappler Fall Classic going down this year. It's hard to believe this is the 6th year of the Grappler Fall Classic.
I was 18 years old when you had the first Grappler Fall Classic.
The first one was in the little old gym in Tecumseh High School. And now here we are, filling Kellogg Arena for the third or fourth year in a row. Gonna be probably, I think, the best GFC ever. And we're getting into the meat and potatoes of our preview right now. We're getting into the big weights, 30 to 52. These weight classes, there's no room for error. I mean, every single weight is 16 deep. Every guy seated almost as a state qualifier, state placer. These are really the meat and potato weight classes. We got a lot to get to, so we're gonna get right into it. Starting out with 130. So just so you know, in case you didn't watch our other videos, I'm gonna kind of outline the out-of-state guys. Steve's gonna outline the in-state guys because, in case you don't know, Steve Wodzinski, he's the Michigan Grappler High School analyst. He also does national rankings for the Associated Wrestling Press. But he's been doing Michigan Grappler rankings now for what, 5 years? He knows these kids. I mean, he's known these kids since they were in like 7th grade. Mm-hmm. He knows who's who they've wrestled. So he's going to give the breakdown of the Michigan guys and what he's going to do, because I mean, there's like so many at these weight classes, it would take him a long time to read them. So he's going to just kind of highlight the best ones and the guys who really stand out for him. But if you want to see the full list of seeds, they're on MichiganGrappler.com. They're on the AssociatedWrestlingPress.com. And they're also on GrapplerFallClassic.com.
Ideal viewing, you might even want to pull those up and scroll as we go through this.
That's a good idea. That's why he gets the big bucks. So we'll start out with 130, and I'm going to go with the out-of-state kids first because we got a handful of them here in this weight, including #1 seed Alex McCall from Walsh Jesuit High School. Alex McCall was supposed to come last year. He had a last-minute. He went on a visit to Rutgers, which now he's committed to Rutgers, so he couldn't come. I'm pumped that he's coming back this year. Dude is a stud. He is a state champ out of Ohio. He's done a lot on the national level. Right. He's ranked right now top 15 in the country.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Yanni Diakomolis. He just won a world title. He's like one of the top 2 or 3 high school wrestlers in the country. I'm pretty sure his last high school loss was last year at Journeyman to Alex McCall.
Alex McCall, who's coming to get some this weekend. So Alex McCall's our #1 seed, followed by another tough out-of-state kid, Grant Aronoff, who's the #2 seed. Aronoff came here last year as a freshman. Had a great tournament. He beat a couple studs. He had some losses. I think he took like 5th in the tournament. Yeah. But it was like his first high schow tournament.
Right.
He ended up taking 2nd in the state in Florida last year. Lost to a really tough kid out of Florida, Prince, who's really good.
Prince Lugo, I think.
No, I think Jared Prince.
Jared Prince. That's
something
right.
Like that. And but he had a great offseason. He won the NHSCA Freshman Nationals.
Beat Sammy Sasso in the finals of that tournament. He's a stud.
And Aronoff's tough. He's ranked top 15 in the country right now. He's a sophomore out of St. Thomas Aquinas, Florida. He's a stud to watch out for. Also, top 3 in this weight are all out of state. 3rd seed's Keegan Duncan, state champ out of Kentucky.
One division. Placer.
He placed here last year, so we know he knows how to get some. He's another stud to watch out for. Also, the 5th seed, Zane Brown out of Kentucky. State runner-up last year in Kentucky as an 8th grader.
That's impressive.
Yeah, dude's a stud. So
he lost to Bryce Sheffer in the finals in like an overtime match, I want to say, and Bryce Sheffer is the real deal.
So he is a dude to watch out for. Garrett Lambert out of Ohio, 2-time D1 state placer in Ohio. Dude's a hammer. We got Zach Mello out of Indiana, 4th in the state in Indiana. Indiana's one division. I mean, that's the real deal. Keep going down. We got Bryce Marcus out of Florida, also a stud. We got Max Whitgow, state qualifier out of Florida. So just a hammer weight. There's 24 state qualifiers in this weight, 15 state placers, 2 state champs. That's the out-of-state kids. Steve, hit him with the Michigan kids.
Michigan kids, top kid coming out of Michigan, returning GFC All-American, Cole Krause, my man coming out of Grand Rapids Catholic Central. He's the real deal. He had an awesome summer. He did really well at Disney Duels. I think Cole's going to have a big weekend. He was a state runner-up last year. Noah Shaner, I think he was one of the biggest surprises of the season last year.
Bay City Western.
Yep, he was a state qualifier as a freshman, and last year he was in the finals. The only loss was to Lucas Hall at the state tournament. He is legit, and Bay City Western for you Michigan people. They're Division I this year, so that's going to be interesting. KJ Suter, he's been a GFC All-American. He's a former state runner-up, 3-time state placer. John Simaz, another one of my Westland John Glenn boys. Had an injury last year, missed the state tournament, otherwise he could be potentially seated a lot higher. He was 3rd in the state as a freshman. He is the real deal. Tyler Sanders out of Macomb, Dakota, one of the best freshmen in the state last year. Took 6th at 119. Had a good summer, went out to Fargo, made some noise. Devin Perez, state placer out of Davison, Michigan. A really tough kid. One of the best kids that you'll ever see to take 8th in the state tournament.
Let's talk about Austin Boone.
Austin Boone. Where to start? 105 last year, 7th grader. Coming in. 105 last year, Louis Hayes, I think he's #1 in the country right now at 106, and Austin Franco, who was like 49-1 at 112 last year in Division II. So
and Austin Boone won the weight class.
And Austin
as a
Boone
seventh
beat them
grader.
both to win the weight class. He didn't have like an easy route. I think he was unseeded, or maybe it was like the 8th seed or something. I don't know. And he beat like every single good kid there was to win the weight class as a 7th grader.
If he was a 9th grader last year, he probably would have been ranked #1 in the country at 106. I mean, the dude's a stud. But now he's at 130 pounds.
Big jump.
8th grader at 130 pounds. So it's going to be, I mean, right now, Steve's got him slated as 15th in the seeds right now. Or actually, no, 16th because Arnold, 16th in the seeds right now. It means he's going to be wrestling Alex McCall in the round of 32. That's crazy. That's a returning GFC champ who beat Louis Hayes last year, but he's an 8th grader. He's at 130. It's hard. We don't know where to see him.
I mean, the thing about him too is some of these guys who are 8th graders, they have like, they're really explosive, athletic, but they kind of haven't figured out the intricacies of the sport. He is like so mature. He wrestles a really kind of methodical pace. He's really good at scrambling and getting himself out of situations. He's going to be right in that match with McCall.
Yeah, he's going to be like the next Lowell, just like free show out of Lowell, I think. But I'm sure that Coach Boudreaux's pumped to get that guy in the lineup next year.
And just a couple other Michigan kids I skimmed over. Marcus Richardson, 3-time Division IV state placer, and Dominic Gardner out of Portland, Michigan, 4th in Division III last year. So a lot of depth.
Ton of studs. I mean, we got state placers all the way down to 15.
Right, we got a kid like Noah Matten, who's an Ohio State qualifier, who's had some national success, not even in the seeds.
It's going to be interesting.
Legit.
Who you got?
I have got Grant Aronoff.
Going with Aronoff.
Going with the Florida boy.
My Florida guys.
I think he's made some big progress in the past year or so. Getting to watch him a decent amount. I think he's winning it. But McCall, going to be a tough test in the finals.
Yeah, and you pinned it. You hit the nail on the head. Aronoff, McCall. That's really the two guys that I'm looking to see. I think, depending on how the seeds work out, if they stay the way they are, McCall, Aronoff for 1 and 2. I think they'll have some decent tests in the semis with someone like a Keegan Duncan, Cole Krause, Zane Brown. Those guys are going to give them a little bit of a test, I think. But ultimately, I think McCall and Aronoff are definitely going to make the finals, and it's going to be a great match. I think McCall, just because he's older, he's a senior, Aronoff's a sophomore. McCall's a little bit more seasoned, against high-level guys. So I think McCall's going to take him. Oh. 135. What do we got?
135, we got my man Ben Freeman leading off a pretty tough weight. Unfortunately, Caden Stewart was initially registered. He's not going to be here, and that's a bummer, but we have so much depth here that regardless, it's going to be an awesome weight. Like I said, Ben Freeman, he's the man, 2-time state champ. He's placed at everything. He's like All-American 20 times in the past 2 years. It's crazy how many things he's placed at. He wrestles about as much as anyone and is about as consistent as anyone, as technical as anyone.
The thing that's cool about Freeman, too, is that he was like, he's a stud coming in. He's a 103-pounder. But then he made a huge jump.
103 to 125. And now he's at 135.
Still a stud. You know what I mean? He's still kicking butt. So, yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah, and then looking Matt Santos, he's our number 4 seed. He's not very flashy. He's a Division III state champ, but he will take anyone to double overtime.
Grinds out wins.
So hard to score on. Nothing comes easy against Matt Santos. He's in every single match he wrestles. Then one down the list, Riley Brown out of Whitehall. Really big fan of that program and of Riley Brown. He is feisty. So lanky, so funky, so feisty. He's another kid. He wrestled Freeman really tough. I think they had an overtime match last year, I want to say. He's going to be right in the mix. Dante LaTorra, one of the bigger guys at this weight probably. He was a 130-pounder last year. Super tough on top, super physical. Ethan Woods, coming out of Manchester High School Division IV state runner-up this year, jumping a few weights. I know he's had a really active summer, training with Advantage Wrestling Club. Moving on the list, Sean O'Haron, top 4 in Division IV last year. Jonah Grimm out of Mendon, top 6. Brett Bastinelli out of Marysville, 2-time state placer. Drew Mandel out of Dundee, he's a former state placer. Nolan Smith, Portage Northern, former state placer. So tons of depth going through the top 16 and beyond.
As you can see, I already wrote in Ben Freeman because the dude's a stud, and I just don't think there's anybody who can beat him. But we do have some really tough out-of-state kids. Our 2 and 3 seeds are both really good. Josh Bird is a 2-time state champ in Wisconsin. He's also won Fargo before in Greco a couple years ago.
Former GFC finalist.
Might give some fits to Ben Freeman because he's a little bit of a Greco guy. Ben Freeman's kind of a,
If you look
2-on-1
at all of Ben's
Greco
results
guy.
in the past 3 years, the only time he really struggled has been in Greco, so that could be an interesting matchup.
So he might be able to slow Ben down a little bit with some of his ties. Could be an interesting matchup. Then the complete opposite of that is Franco Valdez from Florida, who was here last year, took second to Lincoln Olson. He's like your jitterbug, in and out, really fast, really explosive.
Just a young
guy.
buck, just a sophomore.
He won the Florida State tournament 2 years ago as an 8th grader. Wow. He's a stud. And then really it kind of drops off. It's all Michigan kids after that until you get all the way down to like 14, 15. We got a couple Indiana State qualifiers in Kobe Raypole, Owen Doster, which, Indiana State qualifiers, that's pretty legit. It's tough to qualify for that tournament.
You never really know what you're getting with those guys.
So they could be, dark horses down there, like 13, 14 seeds. Connor Brady, freshman out of Ohio. Really interesting. I think he's a Graham guy, right?
Right, and these Graham guys, they don't really compete a lot outside of the high school season. So there's guys last year Rocky Jordan, not a lot of really results out there. And then you watch him show up at the Ironman and he makes the finals, his first big high school tournament. So you never know with those guys.
Coming in unseeded and could maybe be a dark horse, someone to watch out for. Couple other state qualifiers out of Florida: Tyler DeFiore, I hope I said that right, and Max Cosmides. And the Sunshine State, off topic, but just keeps rolling in kids to the GFC. I love it. It's because they like the weather up here.
That's right.
They don't get seasons in Florida, so they're they really want to see a fall, so they come to the Upper Fall Classic. So end of the day, though, like I said, I'm definitely going with my man B Free,
and I'm doubling down.
And I'm pretty sure Steve's going to go with the same pick because Ben Freeman is just really, really good, and he's never won this tournament. Is that hard to believe? He comes every year.
He's won it as a middle schooler, I think.
He did. Yeah. Well, I don't know if he did. He had some tough weights there too.
That's true. I think.
Either way, he's a star. Right. He's going to win, I think. It would have been awesome to see him and Kanan Storr wrestle, but that's all right. He's still going to have some.
Might still happen this season, or a Super 32. You
never know. So moving on, 140. We got another loaded weight class at 140. We got confused. Dresden Simon, number 1 seed. I'm going to let you talk about him. But for the out-of-state guys, we got Ryan Ford, who's the 2 seed. He's been 3rd in the state, 2 times in Ohio. He's been to this tournament before, and he did pretty well. I think he placed here last year.
Yep.
Got Julian Blanco out of Illinois, who was 4th in the state in 3A in Illinois. So he could be sneaky. He could be someone to watch out for. Trent Johnson out of Kentucky, 4th in the state in Kentucky. And other than that, it's just a ton of really tough dudes from the glove, from the state of Michigan. So who do we got?
So Dresden Simon, the 1 seed, he touched on him already. He's proven he can beat just about anyone. You guys are probably familiar with Chad Red. He's the number 1 kid in the country. I'm pretty sure his last loss was 2 years ago at the cadet duels to Dresden Simon. So Dresden Simon can beat anyone. He's the real deal, state champ. Junior folk style All-American. Number 3 seed, we got Alex Martinez, one of the best kids in Michigan that doesn't have a state title. He's been top 4 every year of his high school career. I think all the way back in 2012, he was a Grappler Fall Classic high school finalist. He's the real deal. He's a Flow Nationals All-American. Number 4, Chase Veet. He's a Division II state runner-up, had a really awesome run. He's out of Parma Western. He made the finals last year, kind of surprised a lot of people. Number 5, Reese Hughes, who was this close to being a Division I state finalist and potentially champion last year at Heartland. Excited to have him here. I don't think he really has a whole ton of national experience so far in his career. I went to TOC this year, but I'm really excited to see how he does against some of these bigger national names. Number 6, maybe the most dangerous kid, Aba Jamie, Dearborn Fortson. He will pin anyone from anywhere. Let's see yours. I'm down the sheet. Number 8, Brian Laverne, 2-time top 3 in the state, former state runner-up. Clay Ray Gahn, he's a state runner-up. He was actually Dresden Simon's teammate, so there's a chance they could meet. Trent LaShue out of St. John's, 2-time state placer, super busy summer. Colton Radaz, Freeland, state placer, 3-time state qualifier. Tyler Orison, Dundee, one of the best freshmen in the state last year, took 6 in Division III, so just tons and tons of depth going all the way down the list. John Caldwell, maybe the best kid in Michigan that hasn't qualified for the state tournament. He's been in day 2 at Flow Nationals the past 2 years. He is the real deal. And Grant Morris, another kid with a ton of miles that he's logged nationally. He could be a sleeper.
He's a bulldog. And one other kid from out of state that I forgot to mention was Adam Lewis.
Yeah.
He's our number 2 seed.
Right.
He's a state champ from Florida. He's obviously really, really good. He's a 2 seed. I forgot him because he was registered at 45 and he moved to 140. Forgot to update my list. So that's another really good out of state guy to watch out for. I'm gonna go with him actually. I forgot to mention his name, so I feel like I gotta give him some credit. He's really tough. Like I said, he's from Florida. He's and Dresden Simon is really good, right? And I know that. But Dresden Simon is one of those guys who he can beat anybody, but he can also have close matches sometimes. So I think he might, there's a chance that he'll let Lewis kind of hang out in the match, and if he doesn't catch him in a big move, I think Lewis is gonna knock him off.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't argue with that pick too much, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna go with my man, Dr. Dre, Dresden Simon, out of
Recent
Dansville, Michigan.
CMU commit.
That's
Fire up
right.
chips. 145. 145 is loaded. 21 state qualifiers, 13 state placers, and number 1 seed, we got an out-of-stater, Josh Heil from Ohio. Josh Heil has never won a state title. I don't know how.
Crazy.
I don't know how. He's a 3-time state placer in D1 in Ohio. In the last 2 years he's come here, he's been a lower seed because he isn't a state champ.
Right.
And both times he won the Grappler Fall Classic. I mean, he's going.
He beat some good dudes in the finals. He beat Dresden Simon and Eli Stickley were his finals wins.
Yeah, and he's going for his 3rd Grappler Fall Classic title, which will make him just the 3rd person ever to win 3 Grappler Fall Classic titles. The other 2, Mark Hall, he's pretty good, and Zach Hall, who was a 4-time Michigan State champ who wrestles in Michigan now. So he could be an elite company if he wins the GFC. And Lucas Hall actually is going for his 3rd GFC title. I forgot to mention that.
A lot of Halls.
Yeah, the Halls do well.
Hall
here.
of Fame.
So Josh Heil, Ohio, obviously the most notable, but another stud from Ohio, Joe Kuntz, coming from Massillon Perry. Dude's a stud. He's
Massillon Perry, a big track record for success at the GFC, going all the way back to the days of the Daly brothers. Yeah.
Yep. So we got him. We got Mason Smith, who was 3rd in the state last year in Kentucky
as a freshman.
We got Nicholas Wise, 4th in the state in Kentucky. Eric Bialik, state runner-up.
He's the 9 seed.
Out of Florida. He's the 9 seed. We got 2 other state qualifiers. Michael Ordonez,
He's a really
3A state qualifier from Illinois. Corbin Ryder, state qualifier
There's
from
Christian
Kentucky.
Phoebus, too.
And Christian Phoebus also. Was he a state placer?
State 5th.
5th in the state in Florida. So, loaded weight class. I mean, guys, we got state placers all the way down to 14. I mean, this weight, the early rounds are going to be interesting because I got a feeling one of those top 5, 6 seeds, they're going to get knocked off early because there's going to be some really good matchups. So, who do we got coming from Michigan?
We got Zach Blevins out of Dundee. This dude is super dangerous. You know, like Tony was saying, I do a lot of national rankings. I'm pretty familiar with the national landscape, and he might not have the wins to be a top 20 guy, but he's for sure a top 20 caliber guy who can wrestle with just about anyone in the country. He's got a lot of tools. Nathan Atienza out of Livonia Franklin, absolute stud. He was a state runner-up last year. We get Nathan Atienza and his older brother Jordan. Both of them can make a huge jump every single year of their career. Nathan went from 8th in the state as a freshman, 2nd as a sophomore. I think an even bigger jump this year. Moving down the list, we got Glenn Beardsley, who I think is one of the toughest kids that no one ever really talks about, out of Farwell, Michigan. He's been 3rd in Division III the past 2 years. We got Dustin Groves, one of the best freshmen last year. He was 4th in Division II, had a really good summer. He was a cadet folk style All-American. Got Dylan Dwyer out of Plymouth, Michigan, 5th in the state last year, had a breakout season. Got Noah Neiman, who had an awesome year for Blissfield, took 3rd in Division IV. Owen Donovan, kind of a breakout wrestler last year from Utica Eisenhower, came out of nowhere, took 7th Division I. And then some unseeded guys like Kobe Moore, Matt Heaps, Nick Stanzo, Jacob Bechtal, Jace Quineline, all state qualifiers. Then Brian Case, maybe the number 1 freshman coming in this year in Michigan out of Davison. He's another guy to watch out for.
End of the day, when it comes to the Grappling Fall Classic, all Josh Heil does is win. So I'm going with Josh Heil.
I love Josh Heil.
3-time GFC champ. He's going to win it for his 3rd title.
Probably a bad pick, considering what Josh Heil's done the past couple years here, but I got to go with my man Zach Blevins. He's got the tools.
Dundee. He might be the first ever Dundee GFC champ.
That's right. We're going to get to another one at 189.
He might. All right, 152, last one in this video. Another one that is loaded with out-of-state. Right now, the top 4, 5 guys in this weight are out-of-state guys. Number 1 is Bryce Rogers, 1A state champ out of Florida, had a crazy good summer. He just cracked the Flow National rankings, so he's a top 20 guy in the country. Nick Vestal, number 2, coming out of Dayton Christian, part of that Dayton Christian crew that's coming. State runner-up last year in Ohio for Dayton Christian. Jake Tucker, dude, is really kind of under a lot of radars right now because he didn't wrestle in the state tournament
He was injured last year.
Yeah, but he won this tournament. He won the GFC last year. He beat Foster Carmen in the finals.
And he beat Logan Parks in the semifinals.
Beat Logan Parks in the semis. 2 years ago, he was 5th in the state in in Illinois. He lives in Indiana, competes in Illinois, right? And the dude is a stud. He's committed to Michigan State. Go Green. So he's a tough guy to watch out for. He's the 3 seed right now, which could be kind of an underseeding just because his injury
the lack
last
of
year
results.
and missing the postseason last year. The 4 seed also really tough. Cale McCormick, he's a 2-time state champ out of Indiana.
2-time state placer.
2-time state placer out of Indiana, which is 1 division. He's a former GFC middle school champ back in the day. Really tough. And then we got Derek Smallwood, who was third in the state in Kentucky as a freshman last year.
Yeah.
He's only a sophomore. Those are the top 5 guys, all from out of state. And really, I mean, Smallwood could be really good. I've never seen him wrestle. He's only a sophomore, so maybe he's going to be a little struggle because he's a little young. But those top 4 guys are studs. I mean,
Absolutely.
3 of them are seniors. And we got state champ from Florida. All 4 of those guys are like nationally caliber for sure. And Smallwood might be too, I don't know. And then you go down to number 13. We got a kid who was 6th in the state out of Florida, Angel Del Cueto. Tough. And I mean, number 1 through 16 are all returning state placers. So, I mean, it's going to be crazy. Tanner Gonzalez is the number 16 seed. He was 7th in the state last year. And him and Bryce Rogers are going to wrestle in the round of 32.
So looking at the Michigan guys, we got number 6 seed, Zeth Cottle out of Springport. He was 3rd in Division 4 last year. And just to show you how tough that was, 5th in Division 4 last year, his weight was Kyle Johnson, who's the defending state champ. So he's the real deal. Got Amir Munasar out of Melvindale. He was state placer the past 2 years as a freshman and a sophomore, then missed all of last season. But he was a GFC All-American last year. If not for missing last season, he's kind of a guy like Jake Tucker, could be exceeded potentially a lot higher. Brad Stewart, state placer for Temperance Bedford last year, really tough kid. Sean Sterling, 2-time state placer for Dundee. Derek Drost, 5th in the state for St. John's last year. Kyle Humphreys, coming out of Tecumseh, 8th in the state. Jared Bott, state placer out of Swan Valley. Sage Castillo, top 5 guy out of Heartland a year ago. Tyler Brewer out of Comstock Park. Tanner Gonzalez, shout out to my Norway boys, driving down from like all the way up in the UP to come to the GFC. He was 7th in D4 last year. Then some of the non-seeded guys, Dylan Terrence was state qualifier Division 2 last year. Ethan Smith, 2-time state qualifier, has been kind of banged up the past couple years. Could be very potentially 2-time state placer if he was a little more healthy. So it's probably one of the deepest weights.
For sure. And, before we make our picks, a couple dark horse guys just that I know because my Brighton Bulldogs wrestled against them last year that I think in those lower seeds could potentially have some breakout potential.
Yeah.
Brad Stewart, super dangerous, really
Absolutely.
athletic, tough, strong kid out of Bedford. Sean Sterling,
Yep.
dude is really tough out of Dundee. I watched him last year. He's really physical. I really like him. And Sage Castillo, he's, especially with college rules and riding time, he's one of those guys, he wrestles really well on the mat.
Grinds it out.
And when he's on, he's tough to beat. I mean, so he's the kind of guy who could give one of those top seeds some trouble if he catches them early. So I really look forward to seeing those guys wrestle. But my pick, I'm going with the Spartans. The Spartans need a champ, so we're going to go with Jake Tucker. And Jake Tucker's won this tournament before. He knows how to get some.
Absolutely. Can't argue with that pick, but a lot of times when I'm making these picks, I kind of look at the guys who have had the best summer because I think that they're maybe going to transition in the most, not so much rust. Bryce Rogers, phenomenal summer. He's been in everything.
That's a good pick.
Really good summer. I'm going with Bryce Rogers out of the Sunshine State.
According to this pick right now, just in these weight classes, I got one Florida guy, you got 2 Florida guys. How many Florida champs are we going to have?
Should be quite a few.
Well, there you have it. That's 130 through 152. Those are our picks. If you want to, if you can't make it to the Grappler Fall Classic this Saturday, October 17th in Battle Creek at Kellogg Arena, you can watch it live from your house like you're there. Trackcast is doing every single match live, so you can watch every single match from 8 a.m. when we start all the way to the finals. You'll feel like you're there. The only thing is you won't smell the popcorn from McCamley, but you can make your own popcorn at home. It's $10 to get the live feed, and this year for the first time ever, they're also, not only do they have a track cast where you can watch every single match live, but you can also, it's instantly archived. So like when a match gets over, so like let's say, Tucker and Rogers get done wrestling their finals match and you were like, oh my gosh, I want to see it again. You can watch it like right now. It's instantly there, available to watch, instantly archived. Really cool stuff. The Grappler Fall Classic is brought to you by Wrestling Addicts. They're your one-stop shop for all your team gear, custom gear. They do some really cool stuff. They're doing all our finalist and champion awards this year. So they're going to be on site. But if you're not there, www.wrestlingaddicts.com. Check them out. Check out the pre-seeds. Check out our other videos. We got 3 weight class previews coming at you. This is only the middleweights. Make sure you check out the lightweights and the upperweights. We'll see you Saturday to get some.